Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how you can create a real-time to-do app using Tanstack Start. So you have to have some knowledge about React and Tailwind CSS for this tutorial, and you have to have installed Node.js at least 20 in your machine. Okay, so we'll first create a simple to-do app which is just a simple to-do app. We will be using the Tanstack query for making the API call, and we'll be using ORPC for the API endpoint, right? We'll not be using Tanstack Start native server function and native API to call the API. So we'll be using ORPC endpoint, and for the database we'll be using Postgres, and for the ORM we'll be using Drizzle ORM. Okay, so to create a Tanstack project, we go to the Tanstack documentation, right? And in here, in the quick start, you will see there is a quick start guideline to create a Tanstack project, and we'll follow this guideline. Okay, so if you go to their quick start guide, you can see the command to create a Tanstack project. Okay, before that, let's try our app. So what we are going to build, so let's say we are adding a test to do in here, and if we hit enter, and you can see the to do has been added, and if you click on that, it as marked as completed, right? And if we delete this to do, it will be deleted. And this is happening in real time. If you refresh the page, you can see there is, per moment it is saying connecting, right? After that it is going live. That means our Websocket is connected. Okay, so I'm going to close down this tab, and we are going to build our Websocket to do real-time to do app. Okay, so to create, I'm using bun, so I'm typing bunx create Tanstack latest, and if we hit the command, it will asking me to enter a project name in a moment. So let's see. So you can see it is finishing the project. Now if we go to real-time to do, you can see we have a project. Now we have to cd into the directory, sorry, real-time to do, and if we run run dev, let's see what we are getting from here. And our app is ready, and you can see this is the starter app for Tanstack Start, right? So I am closing it again, and what we should do now, we have to clean up the code. We don't need those, so we have to go to index pages. So by the way, this is not a Tanstack Start tutorial, this is basically a Websocket tutorial. So you have to have some idea about Tanstack Start. If you don't have any idea, you can see some tutorials in YouTube, or you can go to my channel, and I have a tutorial about Tanstack. You can see that also. So I'm cleaning up this. Also, we have to go to our root page. So in here, we also have to remove the header and footer, the unnecessary code. Okay, so in here you will see there is a header component, okay, and there is a footer component. So we don't need those things. Okay, so now if I save all the files, and if we open up the browser, now our app is looking there is nothing, no content, just a background, right? Now we are going to make our Todo API. So we are going to create a database. So to create a database, what you have to do, you have to go to Neon database. So I'm going to log into my Neon console. So Neon gives us a good generous feature to create database. So I have already a database which I am working on. So I am connecting the database. I am just copying the database URL. So you can create a database and just click on connect. So what you have to do is you have to go to your dashboard pages, okay, and just create a database, okay. Okay, just give it a name and choose your region and just hit create, and it will create the database, and just copy the URL. So what we have to do now, we have to go to our code and in the ORPC, right? So the ORPC is set up for me because we have chosen a add-on for that, and I'm not going to explain about ORPC. So basically there is a route folder there. We have index.ts where we exporting our endpoint for the ORPC, and there is a to-do example endpoints are created in here. So one is list to-dos, one is add to-dos, right? So how these things works. So if we go to our local host 3000, and if we go to /API, we'll have a ready-made API documentation and testing things. So that is the power of ORPC, right? So you can test the endpoint localhost API list of to-dos, okay. So these are not coming from our database, so we have to connect our database, okay. So to connect the database, what we have to do is we have a DB folder in here because we have chosen, and we have a schema folder generated for us, and we have diesel setup in here, we have diesel configuration in here, okay. And there is database URL, right? So it is complaining because database URL cannot be null, so we make sure that it is not null. And in the environment local file, we copy our database, we paste our database URL, okay. So now what we have to do to push the changes in the database, what always we have to do, just we have some script in here already given for us. So database push, right? So what I will do, I will split a terminal, and in here I will run db push, okay. So if I run this command, it will push this schema to my database, okay. There is one thing needed in here in this schema. So we don't have any we have here ID, title, and created it, right? But we need another field, another property, which is completed, right? So that we can determine that this to-do is completed or not, okay. So I'm adding this in here, and we have to add boolean in here, okay, from diesel or mpzcore, okay. Now if I save this, save all the file, and if I run the command run db push, it will sync all the changes to my database, okay. And it is pushing all the changes to my database, okay. Also, if you want to check the database, if I go to diesel config.ts, let's see anything shows up, not. So we have a command diesel run db studio, okay. By that we can spin up a database server in here, and we can see that database in here in this studio. Okay, and you will see that our to-do schema is there in the database. Okay, you can see the to-do is there, and there are some to-dos because I already added those to-do in the database. Okay, I'm working in existing database. In yours it will be empty, right, if you created, and there is id, title, completed, created it. Okay, so now I can close this actually. Okay, now we are going to make the ORPC endpoints. So to make this ORPC endpoint, what we have to do is our database schema is ready. Now we have to go to this to-dos file, and what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to export to-do route. I'm giving a name. You can name it whatever you want. Okay, and sorry, those const just to-do router, and this is just an object, and in here I am going to name get to-dos. Okay, so it will not be we can do separate in here, but I'll not do it like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to declare, okay, first let's try it that way. So I'm getting these to-dos, right? I'm cutting these things and paste it in here. Okay, okay, and I don't need these to-dos. It will be coming from our database. So what I have to do is const result is equal to db, so which will be imported as db, right? So from to-dos, and we have to import to-dos also, and it is not, there is nothing to I think this is not needed, and we have to give it a await and also async, right? Okay, so if you hover over this, you can see we have the list, and we just simply return the list. Okay, so the next thing is okay, so similarly we have a add to do example. So I'm going to add to do and paste it in here. Okay, okay, why it is not formatting the document with ptr. Okay, and similarly, so we have to give async and new to do to-dos dot length not needed. Okay, we don't need this. We can get just give send the id name, and what is the to do? Okay, so this is we are renaming it this title because our to do schema has title, right, not name. So and we are returning this. Okay, and drizzle, okay, saving this in a variable const result always. Okay, and if we hover over this, you can see this is a list. So drizzle by default always return a list, but we know that we are just inserting an item, right? So it must be an object. So what we have to do, we have to wrap it in a third bracket. So now we have only the result, right? Okay, similarly delete to dos, for delete to dos we have to delete, and we have to insert the equal. We just need the id of the to do, and we can delete these things. And for updating, okay, so we are toggling the to do, we just toggling the completed field in here. So in the input we need actually okay, let me complete it. So what we're doing, we also need, yeah, we don't need to-dos dot completed, right? Update to-dos and to-dos dot completed. Okay, yeah, we can do it like that also. Whatever the to-dos current value, we are just toggling that. Okay, so only we need the ID actually. Okay, we don't need the value actually what we are going to do, as we are just only toggling. Okay, and we don't export cons to the route, we don't need these two things in here. Okay, there is one thing. Okay, now let's see how our API looks like if I save all those things. Now if we refresh, sorry, what is happening? Okay, actually as we change these things, we just need to go to API/API only. Okay, sorry, my bad. What we have to do is, as we change these things, we have to update those things in here. So we have only to do route, right? So we don't have these things in here, so we have to do routes, and we are just exporting the to do route. Okay, only exporting to do routes, and we are good to go. And if we save this, and if we refresh our API endpoint, API documentation, and we can see, you can see we have to get to do's, add to do's, but this is in a top level, but we want to organize like in a folder. Right here you can see there is model and there is a folder, so we want to wrap up those things in the to-do. Also, if you don't want to appear to do route every time in here, we can do that also. So how we can do that, we have to go to our to-dos, and in here we will be defining const route group, just naming, you can name whatever you want, os.route, os.route, and in here you will give tags, and it is an array, and I am naming it capital to-do, right? To-do. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to replace all these things. Okay, os to route group. Okay, so you just have to replace os to the route group. So we just replace all the OSs with the route group, and if we save that file and we go in here and refresh the page, you can see we have to-dos, right? But still we have this to-do route in here, and all of these are post, but get to-dos should not be a post request, it should be a get request, and toggle to-do should be a patch request, right? Delete to-do can be a delete request. So we'll be fixing that, and also we'll be removing these things. And so to do that, to remove this, we just have to spread this. Okay, so this will do the job. And for to-dos, in here route group, okay, in the input we don't for the get to-dos we don't need any input, because a get request doesn't have any input, right? Normally, but you can add actually. So in here we'll have route group dot route. In the route object we have method. So in here I am defining the method is get. Okay, similarly I am in here I am defining the method as post. Okay, and for this I am going to add put or patch. So patch is I'm using patch, you can use put, and for that we are using delete method. Okay, now if I save all the file and go back to my API endpoint, and if I refresh it, you can see we have get, post, patch, and delete. Now let's test the endpoint. Okay, so we don't have any endpoint, any to-dos right now, so this is empty. So let's try to add a to-do in here. Okay, so for the title I am giving test to-do and just add it. You can see the to-do is added. Then I am adding another to-do, and if I send it, you can see there is ID and there is another to-do. Okay, added. And now if we go to get to-dos and hit send, and you can see you can have the to-dos. So let's try to toggle it to do. Let's say we want to toggle the number 12, right? We have 12, right? So if I click, you can see the to do. Okay, this is false. This is not changing the to do, right? Let's hit again the to do. So it is still false. So that means we have to pass the value, completed value actually. Okay, so let's change it. So in the toggle to do, we also get another field which is completed, and which is a boolean, and we are setting the completed whatever the value is passed. Okay, now if we save it and refresh this, and now if I test it, let's see, I am going to save it as true, and the ID is 12. We have 12, right? And if I send, and you can see now it is true. Okay, so in the get to dos, now if we get all the to dos, and you can see here it is also true. Okay, and if we want to delete and to do, let's say I want to delete number 13. Okay, and try it, and the 13 is deleted, right? And if we now test the get to dos, you will have the only one to do, right? So our API is working. So that's how easy to create API endpoint using ORPC, right? And you can test it immediately. Okay, so now we are going to implement our UI. Okay, so as this is not a UI tutorial, so I am going to copy paste the UI code in here, right? And so let's do that. So I have pasted all the necessary thing. I'm going to explain to you. So we are defining a to do model, to do type, to have type safety. So we are tracking down the Websocket connection status by this variable. Okay, and we are setting a to do list which we are going to show in our home page, and we are going to get the to do title from the user to add a to do, and we are handling those in by this input. Okay, and we have a function to handle add to do. Okay, and just we are getting the from submit event and getting the title. That's it. We are doing nothing. We are doing we are not doing any database query or any API calls in here, right? For the same goes to handle to do, handle toggle to do, or handle delete to do, right? For the deleting we need the ID, and for the handle to do we just pass the whole to do. Okay, and in here completed, we are tracking the completed to do, filtering out by the completed and the to do's length in here total. So in here we are just designing the UI, real-time to the board, and based on the Websocket status, we are saying that it is connecting or live. Whenever it is connected, status is connected, it is showing that it is live, right? And by default it is connecting, right? Always, because for the first time it is always connecting. And then based on total to do, we are showing that okay, this is progressing. Okay, also we can okay, we will have this when we are we will ready our ORPC endpoint call for getting to dos, and we are getting the input to do title, and we are having a submit button for the to do, and we are showing the to do list. Okay, that's it. Okay, and this is just an UI design, nothing else. Okay, so now let's see how our UI looks like. So if I open our home page, did I save this code? Maybe not. Okay, let me check. So sorry, I messed up the code. So I am missing a second bracket in here, and we have to remove a bracket in here. Okay, sorry, my bad. And if we save this code, and now we go to our members, you can see we have the UI, right? So we now if we hit enter and add a to do, then nothing is happening, and it always saying connecting, because we do not update the WebSocket status, right? So when we implement the WebSocket, then when the WebSocket is connected, we will change this status. Okay, so right now we will be connected, we will connect our ORPC API to this. Okay, so let's do that. So I am closing this. So what we have to do is actually okay, so first thing first, to add a to do. Okay, to get the to do list, we have to query, right? Use query. So we are going to use const use query, and we are going to use ORPC client. Okay, dot get to dos, right? And this is query, so we need query options. Okay, so in here we'll have data. Okay, okay, so so you can see the ORPC is importing like that has /ORPC/kind. So why is that? So in our ts config path, we define the path alias. So in our ts config JSON, we define the path alias like that, as star source or at the rate star source. So we can import those things using at the rate also, so there will be no problem. Okay, so you do whatever you want. Okay, so in this data we have the to-do list, right? So whenever we are getting the to-do list, we have to update this to-do, set to-do, because we are showing to-do from this to-do, right? So we have to use an use effect. So I am defining an use effect which stacks is to update the to-do. Okay, so if there is data, we have to set the to-do. Okay, and it dependent on the data, right? There is the dependency. Okay, next what we have to do, so we have the to do. Now we have to complete the handle add to do, right? So for that we have to define our add to do mutation. Const use mutation This time we're going to use mutation from Tanstack query. Similarly, ORPC dot, you can see this is fully type safe, so that's the power of ORPC. That's why I'm using ORPC. Otherwise we can use Tanstack native server function, right? But in here we have type safety, so add to do dot mutation option, as we are doing mutation in here, right? So in here we are going to mutate async, take the mutate async, as we are going to await it and name it add to do. Okay, similarly we have to have two more things. One is toggle to do, so AI is suggesting me actually, so we have toggle to do and delete to do. So I'm defining all of three at a time, so that I just add those things. Okay, now what we have to do, just await add to do and passing the title, right? And our variable name also title, that's why we don't have to pass like that title. Okay, and in here we have to handle toggle, we have to toggle the to do, we have to pass the id and completed. In here we just have to delete the to do, right? So seems like everything is implemented in here for now. So if I save all of that and run the server, okay, now we will be testing in our UI. Okay, and you can see we have the to do in here, to do list, which we are added from via our API, right? So now if I delete it, it will be deleted, but nothing happening in here. I click on delete, nothing happened, right? But if we refresh the page, and you can see the to do is gone. And if we add a new to do, I have added, but nothing is happening. The to do doesn't appear in here. So if I refresh it, then I can see the to do, right? So Tanstack query provided a really cool way to feel the UI like real time, but that is not actually real time. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so to do that, what we have to do is we have to invalidate our to do query. Okay, whenever we adding a to do, deleting a to do, after we just have to invalidate it. Okay, one more thing we have to do when we get to do's, we actually, okay, we will do it later. Okay, one more thing we can do in here, we can also have is pending, I think, sorry. So we can improve the UI a little bit. So if we take is pending, that means our to-do data is not loaded yet. So instead of showing that there is no to-do, no task or add anything, okay, so what we can do, no task created, add one above. Okay, in here we can show this. If is pending, it is showing loading, otherwise it is showing no task yet add. Okay, add above. Okay, in here what we can do, okay, we have to invalidate the queries, to do queries, whenever there is added a to do, deleted to do, right? How we can do that? We have the query client, but where we will get the query client? So we can get it from route dot use route context. Okay, and and in here we have query client. How I know that there is a query client in here? So if we go to our route context, main route context, we can see there is my route context and there is query client in here. Okay, so this is the root router, we have the query client. When we choose the add-on, so in integration you can see Tanstack query is integrated, and the root provider is exporting a get context function which is exporting basically the query client. Okay, React query client, and there is a main route file. You can see router.tsx. In here we get the context and give it to the router. Okay, that's why we are getting this in here. Okay, and so now we have to do is, after adding a to do, we just have to invalidate the get to do query. Okay, it will update the list. Okay, for deletion we also do that. Now if we save it and just go back to our home page, now it is saying loading. You can see it is, and now it is saying that okay, there is a to do. But now if I delete this to do, you can see the to do is gone, the list is updated. So it feels like real time, right? So if I added another to do, name it another to do, you can see this is address. So it feels like real time, right? But it is not real time. I will show you why. So if now I opened another tab and I opened same localhost 3000. Okay, sorry, my PC hanged a little bit. So in here you can see I have added another tab, same tab, added in a new tab. So now in here, if we try to add a new to do, let's say test real time. Okay, and I added the to do, you can see it appear in this tab but not in this tab. So now I can confirm that okay, this is not happening in real time. It's just the use query way to improve the user experience. Okay, that's not real time. So now we need the real time. Now we'll implement the real time Websocket so that we can have the real time effect. So if we change one tab, it will appear also in another tab. Okay, now I will do it. Now we will do it. So to do that, what we have to do is, I'm closing this browser, and what we have to do is, in the main directory, source directory, not in the routes directory, you can do it, you can call whatever you want. So I am calling it websocket. Okay, and in here we have to have a folder called routes. So this can be, this has to be routes, and in the routes file you define a file name, whatever you want to uh, call your website endpoint. Let's say in HTTP, if you want to have localhost ws, so if you want to um, call your WebSocket URL like that, ws, then you have to name the file as ws. Okay, if you want to call this endpoint is real time, you have to name it real time. Okay, so I am calling it real time. Okay, In here I am naming the file realtime.ts. Okay, and in here I am calling a file ws utils.ts. What this will do, it will give me the I will define a function in here which will give me the Websocket URL. Okay, we can define like ws // localhost 3000 or any of this, right? But I'm doing it in here so that we don't have to change anything in production, right? If our window location protocol is HTTPS, then we have to use WSS, and it is not HTTPS, we will use WS, right? /: then whatever the our Windows location host, we will get that. If it is localhost, it is local, and if you deploy this app on xyz.com, then it will be xyz.com slash the real time. Because why it is real time? Because we name this file realtime.ts. Okay, so that we have to do. So now our real-time file is ready, and real-time util function to get the Websocket URL is ready also. So how we will notify the Tanstack start app, because Tanstack start running a Node.js server, right? Running in a server. So how we tell the Tanstack start server that okay, I am defining a Websocket in here, in that directory, right? Okay, so to do that, what we have to go in byteconfig.ts. okay, in here what we'll do, we will define a Nitro server. We will add a plugin which by which we are going to build our project. Okay, so we why I am choosing Nitro, because it gives us a wide range of deployment option. Okay, we can deploy a Tanstack start app in Cloudflare, Netlify, many other platform, right? But if we use Nitro, it can uh, uh, convert this to a Node.js app, right? So that we can deploy anywhere we want. So I am importing the Nitro, but we have to install the Nitro package. So for that I am going to shut down this terminal and burn install. I install the package Nitro. In a moment the error will be gone when the package is installed. Okay, so what this does do, so I will build the project with the preset of burn runtime, and I'm telling the server directory. What is the server? I'm telling a server source Websocket, right? And I'm enabling the Websocket feature to true. So this is the thing we have to do only to tell that Tanstack that I am using a Websocket in here. Okay, this will be integrated with the Tanstack server to do, but we have to do something more actually. So we have to do some steps in realtimes.ts file to make it happen. Okay, so let's do it. So first we have to import define Websocket handler. Okay, so I am closing the server for now, and we have to define import define Websocket handler from Nitro h3. Okay, for Tanstack start as we are using bun, so that's why we are importing the define Websocket handler from Nitro h3. This is a node runtime. And next what we have to do, we have to define a base message schema. So we are defining base message schema for our message, so Websocket message. So every WebSocket message has a type of string, and it can have any payload. Okay, so I'm defining that. Then we okay, then I'm pasting some code and I'm explaining what is happening in here. Okay, so what we have done is we just export this define WebSocket handler. Okay, what we imported from in here, and it have three methods on open, close, and message. Okay, whenever WebSocket connection is opened, it will execute this function. Whenever an WebSocket connection is closed, it will execute this function. And whenever there is a message from the from WebSocket, it will execute this, right? So what happening in here? So this is a peer, and we actually need a subscribe channels. Okay, list of subscribe channels, but this peer p doesn't have any subscribe channels uh, um, list or set to track those subscribe channels, right? So that's why we are taking this peer and defining this to any, so that we can have a property in here. We don't have type error. So what basically do, and these two already exist in peer, right? And that's why the color also different. So in here we are defining a set of a string. Okay, so whenever the subscribe function is called, we are just adding the channel to this subscribe channel set, and whenever unsubscribe, we are deleting the subscribe channel from that. Okay, and we are um, adding this peer, every peer, to a global peers list, set of peer. Okay, because we have to track down all the peers. So because there is lot of connection can be made, so we have to track that which peer we are going to send this message. Okay, which channel, which peer we are going to send this message. So what we have to do, we have to define a global ws peer. Okay, so I'm defining it in here, global. So if there is no global peer, we will define a new set of global peer. So this will execute in the first time. Okay, and we are giving it a name, so that we can add it like this way, or we can just grab this and paste it in here and dot add. We can also do it that way also. Okay, but we are defining just this in here, and to looks pretty and readable, right? And we are just console log in here, and whenever an website connection is ready, we are sending sending a type of welcome message and payload, welcome to website server. This is just a dummy welcome message. The type is welcome. Okay, type, it can be anything, just to define. You will see what that means in a moment. Okay, and whenever the connection is closed, you just console log the output that this kind is disconnected, and give it the peer id, right? So in the message section, what we are doing to we are getting the message message.text, and we are parsing the message json parse. We have the raw, then we will have the json object for the message, whatever we pass in the payload. Okay, and we are validating the message that okay, we define that okay, every message will have a type and payload, right? So just we are validating this. If this is not valid, we can warn that this is an invalid message. Okay, and if the raw dot type, so that means there is a type in here, right? So we can call it message actually if you want. So I am just calling it raw. So if type is equal to subscribe, that means we have to subscribe the channel. Okay, that means this is this is for the subscribing the channel. Okay, so if it is type is subscribe, then in the payload there should be a channel, must have a channel. and we are checking the channel type is string. If it is string, just we are here subscribe to the channel. Okay, so if we call it, and then it will add the channel to the subscribe channel list. Okay, and then same thing to unsubscribe. If it is type is unsubscribe, then we will unsubscribe the channel. Okay, and if there is any error, we just console log the error. So this is pretty simple. Okay, so now our WebSocket handler is defined. Now we have to define a broadcast event. By that, whenever we added to do or deleted to do or updated to do, we will broadcast a message to send the message to the WebSocket, so that it knows that there is something happened, and by that action we can update our UI. Okay, so what I mean by that, we have to define a broadcast event. So I am defining the function. So I'm copy pasting because I'm trying to save sometimes. So and okay, so these broadcast events have the channel type of channel events. So we are doing those things for type safety. We will define the channel events interface in a moment, and event should be the list of key of channel events. Okay, and what we are doing, okay, let first define those events. So how we can define those things? So let's define it in here. So in the utils, we are going to define the interface. Okay, so I am exporting the interface channel events, and in events we have to-dos, right? So basically we are broadcasting the to-dos event. Also there is a system ping. We have to ping the server after some moment, so that our connection always stay live. Okay, that's why you're doing. So what I say, that every channel event has a name like to do. Okay, and every to do's event has a type and payload. Okay, so it is each type is to do added, and payload should be like this. And if type is updated, payload should be id and completed. And if it is type to do delete, payload should be id. And if it is system, type should be ping, and payload should be time and number. Okay, so now if we just import these things, you can see in the channel we have key of channel events, and event we have in the channel events we have the key of channel events. Okay, from the channel events. So basically what it is doing, so now when we broadcast the event from our API endpoint, we will have type safety. Okay, we have this action, only these types you will see in a moment. So this is okay, so to make the server always make the connection, website connection always live, we have to do one more thing. Okay, so we define this like that. So if the WebSocket interval is there, so we are if it is not defined, we are defining it, otherwise we don't define it. Okay, then if we don't check this, it will be happening multiple time, right? So in a 1 second interval, we are sending a broadcast event ping to our server, so our WebSocket server, so that the connection is live. So in here you can see, if in the broadcast event we have type safety, like if I try to add any other thing rather than to do and system, it will show me error. So this is a system message, right? So that's why I am telling that this is a system message, and this is the type always going to be ping. For the system, it can be ping, to do, added, any of these things, right? So this is a system message, the type should be ping, and in the payload you can see you always have time only. Okay, as we are choosing type as ping. If we choose add to do or something, then it will show an error, because for that our payload is different, right? So for the ping we only pass the time as a payload, and what where we are getting from these things, we define this interface in here, right? Okay, now our WebSocket code is ready. Okay, now what left is to broadcast the event whenever we added to do, updated to do, and deleted to do, and listen those event from the client side. Okay, so let's just save this code and go to the ORPC endpoint in here in the route folder in the to dos. Okay, so in here what we have to do after adding a to do, right? Now adding it to do, we have to broadcast the event. Okay, so if we type here very broadcast, so I'm importing the broadcast event, okay, from WS utils, and here you can see we now have the type safety, right? That's why we're declaring the interface, otherwise we don't have to. So every broadcast event has a event, so which is to do event, and in here we have an object, and in here we have type first, right? So for the type we have these four only for right now. So as this is a to do added event, so I am defining this as to do add event, and for the payload we can pass the result. Okay, because for this to do added, the payload should be id, title, completed, and created it, and this is what we are getting from the result, right? So we send the added to do in the broadcast event, okay, so that we can receive this payload in our client side to WebSocket listener. Okay, so same we are going to do for toggle to do. Okay, so after updating the to do, we just need to update it, change the type to to do update, and same goes to delete to do, right? So we just need to just delete, pass the type to delete to do, right? So our broadcasting is okay, we don't need to any broadcast for get to do's, we just get the to do's, that's it. Okay, now what we have to do is go to our index.tsx. Okay, so we all will not need any of these things anymore. Okay, because whenever there is action, whenever someone tries to insert something using our API, it will broadcast the event, and we will listen the event in here. Okay, by our WebSocket URL. Okay, so I am removing this also, and we don't need this query client anymore. Okay, that's great. Okay, now that we have the data, so whenever we declare the to do's, we can actually initialize it with the data. So, okay, right? Okay, though it will do the job, but it will be more faster if the data is loaded faster. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to define and use effect to listen our WebSocket changes. Okay, and there will be no dependency, it just run for the first time. Okay, so here it is suggesting. So we have to define a WebSocket, new WebSocket, but our URL will not be hard coded like that. We defined an utility function, right? So get something, get client WebSocket URL like that, maybe. Yes. So we have this. Okay, so it will return our WebSocket URL, right? And it is suggesting other things. So I'm going to copy paste some code to save some time again, and I'm going to paste those in here. Okay, so what it does actually, after declaring the WebSocket, so on open, whenever the WebSocket is connection is open, then we will set the WSC status to connected. That means if this is called, that our WebSocket is open, and we just send, we whenever our web connection is opening, we are subscribing the Todo channel to listen the Todo changes. Okay, that's why we're subscribing it, right? So we are going to as we are typing subscribed, and in the payload we have to pass the channel, right? And on close, just set WSC status to disconnect. On error also we are setting disconnected, right? And whenever some message is received, so we have to import this. So in here we only going to receive Todo's event, right? That's why we are giving the message type to channel events, and in here we have system and Todo's. So we are getting the Todo's type, right? So that we can check the condition, the switch case, right? So we are setting the Todo, we are having the previous Todo's. So in that function we can check a switch statement depending on the message type. If message, we know that message type only have Todo added, Todo update, and Todo delete. If it is Todo deleted, added, we are just adding the Todo and spreading the previous list and returning the updated list, right? So this is a shorter way to write code. I think you will understand it. And if Todo is updated, the event is broadcast event is Todo updated, then what we have to do, we have to find the exit ID. Okay, the message in the payload, we have the ID, right, in the message for the update, right? So we'll match the ID and update this, and just completed will be the message payload completed, and send back the other Todos. Okay, and in Todo delete, just we are going to find the filter out the Todo without that ID. Okay, so this is just, so we are returning the list except removing the ID. Okay, in the deleted one. Okay, so this is a basic list operation, kind of array operation, right? So I think you will understand it. So now that we are doing that, and whenever we are leaving the space, we must disconnect the WebSocket, right? So if the ready state is open, WebSocket is already open, so you can have the WebSocket status from here. Okay, and we will send an unsubscribe, right? We have to unsubscribe the channel. Remember, we are whenever the WebSocket is open, we are subscribing the Todo channel. So whenever we are WebSocket is open, we are leaving this page, right? Then the route, we unsubscribe the Todos, and we are closing the connection. Okay, WebSocket connection. Okay, what this it is showing. Okay, so this should be separate because it is only importing the type. So what we have to do is just add it like this. That's it. So we don't have any error, right? any warning or thing. Now if we save this and let's try that our real time is working or not. To do update. Okay, let's run the project. Okay, now you can see our Websocket is connected, right? If I refresh the page again, you can see for a moment it's showing connecting, then it goes live. That means our Websocket is connected successfully. Now test it. Okay, so if I click one of these to do, it is marked as completed, right? So now test it with another tab. So let's see it is happening in real time or not. So let's localhost 3000. Sorry, my PC hanged a little bit. So now you can see if let's say I add this task to complete. Okay, let's try to add it. And you can see it's happening in real time. It also reflect in this browser also, right? So let's delete one of the to do, and it gone in here. It also reflect in here. Let's add it. This to do also marked this as test real time, and you can see it also reflected in other tab also. Now another to do, we are adding another real time to do. Okay, and you can see this also reflect in here. So our real time is working, right? So okay, so let's undo that, mark as incomplete, and complete again. You can see everything is working in real time, right? So to recap this project, what we have to do actually to make this happen, so there is basically two main things to do. First, we have to declare a directory for the WebSocket in our source folder, and in that folder we have to have a routes folder, and in that route folder we will define a file, whatever the WebSocket URL you want. If it is our main domain slash real time, so we have to make and name it real time, whatever you want. Okay, then what you have to do, you have to go to the byteconfig.ts, and if you are using Nitro, then in the Nitro server you have to tell that okay, there is a directory called source WebSocket, and I have to enable WebSocket in there, WebSocket wizard, right? That's how Tanstack start will know that okay, there is a WebSocket server in here. Okay, so these are the two main things, and in the real time file code we have to define this is just for the type safety things. You don't have to do these things. The main thing is you have to import define WebSocket handler, and in here you don't have to do anything actually in here, but if you want to do a subscription based things, okay, in a subscription based thing, you have to do it. Okay, you have to do these things, and whenever close, you can see we have the console logs in here. Whenever a to do is added, to do is updated, Todo is deleted, all the um, logs are showing in here, right? And in the broadcast event, we don't see any. You can see we are broadcast event to ping the server, right? But there is no no log for ping, right? Because in here we are only console log if the event type is not ping. Okay, because it will happen in every 1 second, right? So there is there will be lots of logging here. That's why we are doing this. There is no need otherwise for this. So that's how you basically implement the WebSocket within the Tanstack app. Okay, so if you like my content, please do subscribe and like my content. We'll see in a next tutorial, inshallah.